Hi, and welcome to Rise with Video. I'm your host, Robyn Unwin, and I talk with women business leaders who are raising their profile and visibility through media and video. I ask them to share their top 5 tips, challenges, or learning lessons as they rise and have more of an impact with their message. We'll talk video tech, but we'll also talk about the inner game of video and building our capacity to show up powerfully and visibly as women in business. So welcome to this episode of Rise with Video. Today I'm sitting down with Melodie Reynolds of Elate Cosmetics, who not only founded and heads one of Canada's top leading cosmetics companies, but she's also become an industry leader in sustainable, values-based corporate leadership. She's also one of the most grounded and authentic women I know, yet she's always had this very big, world-changing vision for her company. So I'm excited to take a look at Melodie's top 5 tips in rising in visibility, impact, and influence.
So welcome in, Melodie. It's so great to see you again here. We actually had the privilege of being in person for the first time in a long time. So it's so good to see you again. And I feel the world returning a little bit to normal, but welcome in and thank you so much for being here to share some of your tips around rising in impact and influence, Melodie.
Oh, thank you, Robyn. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to chat with you today.
Well, you have really been one of what I think our city's, consistent. You started as an up-and-comer, being one of Victoria's top 30 under 30, and really your visibility started rising back then, even as a younger woman. And now I know your business is just totally cresting. You've got, a posse of team members. You are really becoming, one of those businesses, I think, that we to watch on a national and international landscape in terms of leading from values. So we're going to talk about that. That is actually Melodie's 5th tip, is talking about really integrating your values into everything you do. But Melodie, talk a little bit about what it's been like in this, adventure of scaling your business so quickly and so rapidly on an island. It's kind of an unusual story.
It is, and Robyn, I love getting asked this question so much because it seems like it was quick and rapid, but it wasn't, right? Like the seeds of Elate were planted like way back in 2010, and I didn't launch until 2014, but we've been around for 7 years now, and it doesn't feel like that long, but I like to think about it, rather than like this rapid rise to success, that it's been this like slow and methodical and very organic rise to noteworthiness, shall I say?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, success means so many different things to so many different people. So to someone, they would say, oh, this business is successful because they've achieved, X number of dollars in sales, or this business is successful because they, achieved B Corp status, which we did. That's definitely a success in my book. But for me, it's about gaining enough traction and becoming noteworthy, or a company of note, because of the things that we're doing. And that to me has been successful. And that is what has felt so good over the last 7 years, is to really recognize the impact that we could make as a cosmetics company in the sustainability space, and continue to make that impact while still, achieving, I would say, traditional business success at the same time.
And I love that you were pointed about that this has been, it's not just, sort of one of those flash in the pan, oh, wow, she's all of a sudden a success. This has been very measured and strategic and considered, which is actually a really nice segue, because we're going to kind of go on a more micro level. When we're talking about your impact and your rise in video, one of the things I've always loved about you is you have been so consistent in the way that you've expressed yourself, right down to what you wear for your photo shoots and the way that you dress and adorn yourself. So your first tip is consider your wardrobe. So talk a little bit about that, Melodie, in terms of what that has to do in your rise in impact.
Yeah, I mean, being in the beauty industry has been so fantastic. And, and what I love the most about it is exactly that word, adornment, right? The art of taking something external and placing it on yourself to really illuminate something about yourself from within. And that to me is what adornment is, whether it's my signature red lipstick, whether it's, the way that I've styled my hair or the clothing that I choose. It's about putting what I want to show from the inside on the outside on display for others to see and know things about me. And when it comes to video, because it is such a powerful medium, it's not a photograph, right? It is me in real time. You see my expressions, you see the way I'm moving my hands, and you see what I'm wearing, and you then assume things about me based on that. And so it's more than just the correct color pattern. Those things are important. What colors are complementary to you? What's going to be around you? And how do you choose those things? But it's mainly for me about how do I feel in what I am wearing? Do I feel like myself? Have I gone out and bought something that I would never actually wear in real life? I'm not going to feel like myself, and I'm not going to come across as genuine on camera because I'm going to be all weird about what I'm wearing, right? So things that make you feel like you, things that make you feel the way that you want to come across in the video. If you want to be powerful in your video and wearing a suit jacket makes you feel powerful, then wear that. If you want to come across as kind and considerate and wearing the color pink makes you feel kind and considerate, then wear that. And sort of adjust your backgrounds and things accordingly. I think that the most important thing about expressing yourself through adornment is what is it you want to express? And then how do you make yourself feel that way? Not worrying so much about someone else's perception, but keeping in mind that they will perceive you by whatever it is you're wearing. So, my tip is always wear what makes you feel really good. And then the perception of you will be, hey, that person feels good. And I think
good in her own skin, which, and then it's kind of an inside out kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah. You feel comfortable, you feel confident, you feel, I would not feel confident wearing something that, didn't feel good for me. And so, the other thing too is just considering about that perception, right? So the vibe I'm putting off is, kind optimism or confidence or whatever it is that I want to show. And I'm sending that out to that person, but also recognizing that the clothing that I've chosen specifically should also be representative of my values, right? So, as a person who runs a vegan company, I'm not going to throw a cheetah skin over my shoulders because then the perception of the person who's seeing me, my values is not going to match their perception. And then immediately there's going to be some discord there. And when it comes to creating, you don't want to create disconnect with your video. You want it to connect with the people. That's what video is for. And so, keeping in mind that the things that you adorn yourself with should make you feel really good, and then should also make the person who perceives you to give them the right message. So you want to make sure you're sending that message out appropriately.
I love it because I think it all comes down to inner confidence. And if we feel that, I had a client one time where she had been so strong in all of her deliveries. And then one time she was on camera and something was just off. And I said, is everything okay? And she says, it's this suit. It's so freaking itchy. And that was what was really off in her complete performance. It was like an itchy shirt or something like that. So I agree. It's so important to have that inner part dialed in and feel good and feel yourself in what you're wearing. And I think then that confidence starts to exude outwards. And speaking of confidence, this is one thing that I think you've always given, in terms of being a makeup artist and working with your clients. Your second tip is, some advice on how to choose a makeup artist. And I think, just carrying that confidence theme forward. One of the things that's so important about choosing a makeup artist is exactly what you talked about, making sure that you find somebody who will help you look like you. Mm-hmm. So, Melodie, in your second tip, how to choose a makeup artist. What are some of your hot tips there?
Yeah, you're right. It all kind of rolls into one another. So I choose clothing to adorn myself that makes me feel confident, kind, calm, intelligent, any of these words, whatever it is I'm trying to express to my audience. And choosing a makeup artist is very much the same. I need to choose someone that I feel confident in, who gives me the confidence that they know me and they know what I am trying to convey. So, I mentioned my signature red lip. If I'm going to choose a makeup artist to come in, that's the first thing I'm going to say is I always wear a red lip. And I don't want that person to say, ooh, well, maybe you shouldn't wear that because of, X, Y, and Z. Because then I'm going to start to second guess myself in terms of how I want to show up in the world. And so working with a makeup artist that understands you, hopefully it's someone you've worked with before, but even if it's just someone that you are meeting for the first time, you want someone who is, number one, willing to meet with you before the day of, even if it's just a 10-minute phone call, a quick Zoom chat, or a coffee somewhere, someone who can actually get to know who you are and what it is you're trying to convey with your video message so that they can see, yes, this person wants to be them, but just a slightly better version of themselves. And that's really what makeup for a video should be. You don't want someone who's going to come in and like matte you out and put on purple lipstick if that's not you. You want to be the best version of yourself. And you want to have that makeup artist also have a really nice presence for you. There's nothing worse than sitting in a chair and having people, fussing around you and their anxiety is actually giving you anxiety.
Right.
So I would say, experienced, someone who gets you and someone who can actually be a calm presence for you to lean on. Those are always things that I would look for when I'm choosing makeup artists to actually work with, because I generally do my own makeup. But I think that, that is such an important part. And that's the other thing. If you can't afford to hire a makeup artist, there are actually plenty of artists out there who offer lessons. And that's another thing as well. If you,
a really good idea.
Right. If you feel like, you actually you do want to adorn yourself, you do want to be very polished for your video, but you're not totally sure that you should have a makeup artist, you can always meet with one before who will do a lesson for you on how to do makeup for video. And it's really like the way you do makeup every day, just a little bit elevated, right? You want glowing skin, but not oily skin. You want, you want liner, but not, I don't know, liner, right? I was going to say Alice Cooper, but I'm like, maybe nobody knows who Alice Cooper is anymore. I should probably stop using that reference. Again, like I love my red lip, so I want a red lip, but maybe that's not your jam. The last thing you want is to be a person who loves a neutral lip and you've got an artist pushing you to wear red because they love red. So, someone who makes you feel comfortable. And then if you can't actually get someone the day of, get a lesson beforehand and get comfortable yourself. That is one of the key things about video for me is I can, jump up in the morning and I'm like, going to do a video today because I'm confident enough in putting on my own face that I know I can hop on and create some content and then move on with my day. And I feel really good about that. And so if you want to put yourself out there more, then having the confidence to apply your own makeup is also a great thing to do.
But one of the things I love about you is you don't spend a whole lot of time and energy in your life on the way that you look. I've done shoots with you and I know that you're like one of the most uncomplicated people in terms of how you roll. You're just like, kind of a camera ready bunny. And I think that there's something quite lovely about that. And I think that filters down to your team as well, in that whenever I've had experience in working with you or any of your team, it does not feel like that harried experience. It feels like calm and competence and you've got this, and never the drama that major film shoots feel like. There's a easiness.
Yeah, I'd love to say that's because I'm an uncomplicated, easy person, but anybody who knows me would probably disagree with that. but I do think that there's something to be said about the message that you want to share being just that, being uncomplicated, being unpretentious, being, simplistic and accessible. And so if you want to convey that in your video, then that's what the behind the scenes should look like, right? Like I've always been a big believer, right? Yeah, a big believer in that is that whatever's happening behind the scenes is going to show up on camera. So, and thank you for saying that about my team. I love them. They definitely are the most chill individuals. And we're very much like, oh, okay, I guess we're filming. All right, let's throw some powder and lipstick on. Here we go. And I think the other thing too, and this is a big realization, and Robyn, I hope you'll relate to this, you can always cut, right? Like
Yes.
you
Yeah.
can
You have
always
control.
stop.
That's
You have
the
total control. And
Yeah.
as someone who's spoken live in front of people, that is nerve-wracking, because you can't say, oh wait, I want to take that again, right? Like
I know.
you can't do that. Whereas with video, I'm like, oh well, that's fine. If I mess this up, it's cool. And honestly, Robyn, you mentioned to me off camera, that I'm the one take wonder. And yeah, and I love that nickname, because for me, it's like, yeah, I'm the one take wonder, but I don't have to be. If I'm having a day that's off, I can be a 10 take wonder too. And so I think that's the thing about, that relaxation that you see in video, is just that person is like, yeah, this is fine. I probably am going to mess that line up again, but I'll just take it again. And if my lipstick, if my lipstick gets on my teeth, I'll just rub it off. Like it's just a way to approach things that are like, this video is meant to work for you. And what you're doing is conveying your message to your audience, and you have control over that. And that feels really good.
I love that we are talking about your team, because that's the third tip. And I think it's coming from you. It really does mean a lot, because you have a large team. You have probably the largest team of our whole group of friends, which comes with its own inherent responsibilities around visibility and showing up. But let's talk a little bit about how in your business you've created a video culture. That's your third tip, is creating a video culture. So talk about a little bit about how you've done that. People are ready to go on camera, and you do include video in your meetings and in the way that you do business. How has that come about?
That's such a great question. I don't know.
Organically, like most things, right?
Really, yeah. When I started Elate, and I recognized then the power of video. And, our very, very first photo shoot that we did, I had a videographer come and capture it. And at the time, like, I'd like to pretend that I knew exactly what I was doing, but I didn't really at the time. What I wanted was something for myself. I wanted like a keepsake of all the behind the scenes of the first photo shoot that we did. But then after seeing the video, I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is amazing. This actually tells the story better than the photographs do. And it was just so incredible to me that I had this tool, this medium that I could really shine with, because, I love public speaking. I love sharing stories. I love storytelling. I love watching other people tell stories, but I'm not a writer. I've never been a great writer. It's always been about the idea of getting to stand up and say something. And so having this confidence of, stand up and say something, and if you make a mistake, that's okay, because we can take it again. Or, using video in our meetings to, convey the messages that we're looking for. Every single time I go on a vacation or I take a break, I film a video for my team and I send it to them so that they can all, see the message that I'm leaving them with.
Stay connected while you're away.
Exactly. Rather than me just typing a note that's like, hey, I'm going to be gone for a week. Have a great time. It's a video of me saying, this is why I'm taking time off. And this is what I'm encouraging you to do while I'm gone. And so there's so many ways that we can connect with video. And I think that just having that be part of our culture from day one has encouraged everyone to make it part of their daily life as well. And yeah, I definitely am like, hey, you want to be in a video? Hey, do you want to be in a video? And I will get some resistance, because some people are a bit shy, but more often than not, that resistance can be overcome when they see not only me, but other leaders on my team representing the company by making mistakes, and making those mistakes very visibly to show that, no, this is fine, right? We're all learning. You can make a mistake. We're going to get up from it. We're going to learn from it, and we're going to move on. And so that idea that, if you were an incredible introvert who's never been on camera before, and then your CEO asks you to be in a video, you probably have, a heart attack. Right. But if you have been sort of watching the entire team the whole way, do this, take a chance, put themselves out there, make a mistake, and actually be applauded for that mistake, it makes creating that video culture so much easier. And just also the idea that we're all trying to achieve the same mission and the same goal. So the culture of the company is one of creating, the word I want to use is awesomeness, creating awesomeness through trial and error. and yeah, and that's honestly what it is everyone knows how important video is to our community and to our culture. And it allows people to overcome their fears and anxieties by leaning on their team and seeing that it's okay to make mistakes.
And one of the things that's kind of cool about having a larger team is that people's different strengths rise in those different projects. You know, sometimes I've been doing a workshop on creating video cultures in organizations, both for-profit and not-for-profit. And it's fun because one of the things that happens is that there are people who are naturals on camera, and they are very often the ones that are recognized as being the strong public speakers. And it's not a huge surprise, but what I love are the sleepers, the ones who don't speak up as much in meetings, but as soon as you put the camera on them, they are just magic. Or the ones who have these mad editing skills and have this ability to put things together on the back end. And so, you know, sometimes those people are waiting in the wings of your team, and, you know, people are hiring out and spending thousands of extra dollars on video production companies when lots of times it's, you know, with the talent lies within their own team. It's just having this video culture that is seen as important. So I love it that you're a trailblazer in that way. And I think it's probably, you've got a very hip kind of youthful culture in your team. So that doesn't surprise me, but I think that it's fun to see you as a leader in that.
Yeah, and you know, and you're right. Like we do have a relatively young team, and that has been such a bonus for me as well, in terms of, you know, I know what I know about creating this video culture and creating these opportunities for people. And you're so right. Like even just a couple of weeks ago, I got sent a little video for approval from, you know, one of our team members. And I was like, whoa, this came out of nowhere. Where have you been hiding? Right. But this idea of like providing that opportunity, that's what's so important is not only the idea that, you know, anybody at any given time can be asked to do something, and they can choose to say yes or no. They're always encouraged to work with us. But then also over time, you develop this culture that is, oh, well, I filmed this little thing, I'm going to send it to you. Right. Like, so they're doing it without being asked now too.
Yes.
And, you know, they get excited about being able to, you know, this wasn't a face, this was their hands. They were doing like a little reel, which was really cool. And I was so impressed. I was like, that's something I could never do. That is, you know, I'm much better at other parts in terms of video culture, but you know, for my young team, they're all about, you know, the fun little videos of like, just, you know, putting our palettes together, or like, you know, putting a box together. And so I've been really impressed by some of the team members that I have that I never would have imagined would have put forth something. And it's because we have that culture of that, you know, it's always okay to try something new.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, you were talking about the idea of being away, you know, when you, and again, modeling this ethic or this spirit of self-care and rejuvenation. So when you do go away, but it is this way as a leader to stay connected with your team and be there when you're not. And especially during times like the last year and a half we've had, where we really were not as able to be connected all the time. And so being able to use video and Zoom and different ways of communicating, but still feeling like a team and feeling connected.
100%. I think that the connection that we get from seeing and hearing someone is totally different than the connection that you get just from a written email. And so it's so important to move through the discomfort of the video and also of making it perfect, right? Like,
Yes.
you know, when I film little videos for my team, even when I film videos that I'm putting out on social media, they're not perfect. And that's because I don't have
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have the time to film and cut and film and cut and film and cut. I'm like, no, I'm filming this and it's going to go out there whether it is perfect or not. You know, I had to film a message for Douglas Magazine for the 10 to Watch winners earlier this year. And my son was home with me, Thomas, you met him,
Yeah.
you know, he's 18 months old, and he would not, I had to hold him while I was trying to film this message because
That's
he
the
wouldn't
best.
let me put him down. And what was funny is out of that video that I filmed, I actually got the most amazing set of outtakes because he was like staring intently in the camera and kept putting his finger up his nose. So I like, you know, so I sent Douglas Magazine there was one take I did where he didn't put his finger up his nose, but I also sent them all the other ones. And we had this like great rapport and camaraderie around like, this is just reality. You know, nothing is going to be perfect. And in fact, nobody wants to see it if it's perfect, right? People want to see your reality and they want to see you being you. And part of that means that, you know, there's going to be a little flub, and that's okay. You know, I mean, I'm not suggesting you put out something where you've dropped an F-bomb, you know, when you're trying to not do that in a video, but it's okay to have something that isn't entirely polished. In certain situations, there are other situations when you want your video to be really polished, but if you're looking to put yourself out there more, don't be so concerned about it being perfect.
I love that advice. You know, it's one of the things that I will often say, and I think there's something to be said for having the safety of not having to put every single thing out there live into the world every time, to have different pockets where you can experiment and, you know, try different things, maybe different groups or something. But exactly that, if we get hung up on perfection and having everything to have to look a certain way, we won't put anything out. That's why I love lives. I've been challenging myself to do lives, and it's freaked me out at first, but now I actually quite love it because it's just I guess I'm getting used to it or something, but there's something about the impermanence of it. You do it and it's gone, and there's no editing, there's no going back. And yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I love that you've been doing them. It really is. It's the, like, you are often invested in yourself in terms of what you can control. And for me, alive is like the absence of control. I can't control what happens. Like
That's a good way of looking at it.
I log in and I just go, and you're right. And then it's gone afterwards and it doesn't matter. And so for that, you know, 10 minutes or whatever that I'm on the live, it's just kind of flowing with what comes. And if you have a guest, you're like, I can't control what they say. It's live. Here we go. And so, yeah, it is a really freeing experience for sure.
Well, this is lovely how you keep on bouncing to the next topic. But, you know, we were talking about Thomas and, you know, his moments, your son, Thomas. He is such a cutie. And, you know, one of the things I think that has to be a little bit of a strategic decision, or maybe it's not, I'm not sure, but I know that you've got this lovely balance between your public life and your private life. The next one that you talk about is having a nice balance between your public and private life. So how has that been a strategy for you, or has that been something that's just been organic? How do you ascertain what's the right balance for you and your family?
I love this topic so much because, again, although I would love to say I was very strategic about it, I really wasn't, especially in the beginning. You know, when I started my business, my home address was on everything. And I never for a moment thought that that was a problem, right? And then as the business grew and as our footprint grew, and, you know, now we go from being a local Victoria company to a global company, I realized that, oh, there definitely needs to be some separation between Melodie and her family and Melodie and Elate. And
Yes,
so,
public figure.
yeah. And so over the last couple of years, I have been a bit more strategic about what I share, but always within the realm of, number one, permission. So, you know, my daughter Fiona is going to be 9. And so it's really important for me that she understands that everything we put on the internet is permanent. And so I always want her to feel comfortable about the things that we do. And I also want her to see, as a beauty company, who we are and the way that we do things. Because I know as a woman, you know, I, as a young woman as well, was just inundated with all these images and all these expectations of what beauty is. And so my goal for Fiona is to show her what the reality of those expectations is and what beauty companies should be doing versus what they've done in the past, and then allow her the choice to participate. And she, of course, is always very willing and excited to participate in the things that I invite her into. But then there's lots of stuff that I choose not to share because she is very young and I don't want her footprint to be everywhere. I don't want her to look back and wish that she had been more private when she was young. So I do very much control the things that I put on the internet about my kids specifically. And then also, for me personally, one of the things that is so special to me about my company is our team culture. And this is all centered around a policy that I created called the Be Your Best Self policy. And it's about the idea that when you walk through the door of your office, you don't leave personal Melodie behind. I'm personal Melodie and I'm professional Melodie. And although we always try to separate those two things, it's very difficult to do that. If you had a fight with your partner and you have a board meeting at 9 a.m., you do have to try and leave some of that behind, but it is going to follow you, right? And so it's this recognition that whatever I do online is representative of who I am as a human being. And I'm always very open about putting up the good, the bad, and the ugly, because I think that's important. And my community, has rallied around me in terms of, I'm a person who is like, hey, I don't know how to do this. Does anybody else know how to do this? Admitting weaknesses, admitting vulnerabilities, and putting yourself out there is so important. But recognizing that there always needs to be a part of yourself that you keep for you. And so I really think that is a question that is very personal and you have to ask yourself. So for Melodie, I'm always very open and very vulnerable, but there are going to be things that I'm like, you know what, I want to be open and vulnerable about this, but I actually am just going to be open and vulnerable about this in real life rather than online. And so it's up to you to make that decision, but to just know that your community and your audience. And if it is going to benefit them, if what you have to say is going to benefit them, then I say, always say it. And I think that it's a really personal and individual choice, but I do encourage you to think about it and make that choice, because you will get to a point in your business when you may wish that there were things you didn't put online.
Well, this is actually again, just a perfect segue to wrap up, because the last thing that you want to leave people with is the importance of leading with your values and really letting your values and who you are and what you stand for define the way that you run your company and the way that you rise in visibility and in impact as well. So, it goes without saying for me, I've seen you do this all along, but what are the things that you're most excited about in the way that your values have led you and maybe even, I would say maybe even protected you as you've gone out there? I remember a friend of mine saying one time, when you're going to raise your head above the crowd, you better wear a helmet. But I know that your values being close to you and keeping those values around you has been protection for you. So talk a little bit about how leading with values has helped you rise.
I love this so much, Robyn. And again, thank you so much for having me on, because I could talk about values as a roadmap to your life for hours on end. I won't do that to you, of course, but it is so incredibly important for you to know what your values are and then find a way to weave them into your daily life. And this is because I came across a quote a number of years ago that really resonated with me. And it was, and unfortunately, I can't remember who to attribute it to, possibly the Dalai Lama, but I'm not totally sure. But it's that happiness is when your thoughts, feelings, and actions are all in alignment. And that really resonated with me. As you can see, I'm getting a little bit emotional about it, because there were definitely times in my life when my thoughts, feelings, and actions were not in alignment. When I had an opinion about something, but whatever job I was doing actually made me act in the opposite of that opinion. Or, when I was speaking to someone about something and then realized that I was actually doing the opposite of what I was saying. And that really creates discord within your life and within your soul. And so living your values is not just a way to broadcast to the world who you are and what you stand for. It's actually an entire roadmap to your life and your self-peace and your self-worth. And it is so incredibly important to, number one, discover what your values are for you, not for anybody else. Your values are for you. And if you want to keep them private, that's totally fine. You know, my values are all woven into my company's values. And so if you see the company values, you'll notice a lot of mine are in there. But I also have my own personal values that are so important to me. And holding on to those and using those as a template for everything you do will only put you on the right path, the path to success or the path to noteworthiness, as we said earlier. Whatever path it is that you want to be on, if you have your values as your cushion and as your safety net and as your, you know, your best friend, then you can't go wrong, because any decision you have to make, any message you are trying to spread, anything that you do, if it's in alignment with your values, then it's going to feel good and it's going to help you do good. You know, I use the example, actually in one of our previous conversations about, you know, even just the things that you wear being attached to your values, you know, and like, I wouldn't wear a cheetah skin because it's in my values to be kind, and kindness is extended to people, the animals, and the planet. So I wouldn't wear that. And so it's about creating that template that no matter what the decision is, no matter how hard it seems, if you go back to your values, it actually becomes easy. And I think that that is so important, whether you are creating a business culture, whether you are creating a product, whether you are filming a video, or whether you're deciding where to go on vacation. If these things are in alignment, then you will be able to become the best version of yourself, and that always will shine through.
That could not be a better way to finish. I'd almost want to put that on a plaque or something. What a great way to complete such a wonderful interview. And Melodie, I will have all of the ways to contact you in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Melodie, for being here. We will have an exciting announcement coming up in the future for Melodie. And I look forward to having you again as a guest on this show. I think this is going to become a recurring episode for both of us. So thanks again for being here, Melodie.
Thank you so much, Robyn. It was wonderful. I appreciate it.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for being here and staying right to the end of this episode of Rise with Video. Keep in mind, I'm always looking to work with committed and conscious women business leaders to help them create quality video brands. So if that's you, check out the link in the show notes and let's book a virtual coffee. You can catch other episodes on our YouTube channel, Rise with Video. And if you like this video, hit like and share it with your friends. Again, thanks for being here, and we'll catch you in the next episode of Rise with Video.